Hi everybody and welcome to week 5. I can't believe that we're here already. In many ways this semester has flown by for me and I hope that it has for you as well. There's not really much to preface in terms of this week's group of lessons. I think this is a really interesting week because it deals with issues that we grapple with not only in organizations but also socially and interpersonally as well. So this week we're talking about organizational culture and organizational diversity. So organizational culture has to do with the overall feeling or culture that defines what it means to be part of an organization. So Penn State this week is under attack for its sports culture. A lot of the criticism that Penn State has received revolves around the idea that our sports department had created a culture where it was not possible for employees to kind of question authority. They've been accused, if you watched some of the press conferences and announcements this morning, about creating a kind of like segmentalized and departmentalized management structure which prevented communication from being easily and openly exchanged, and basically that our sports department had kind of created this culture where winning was prioritized above everything else. And whether or not you agree with this assessment, certainly if you pay attention to the news reports, there is this emphasis on the culture of our sports program, our athletics program, and that's kind of what we're getting at the heart of in this week's lesson. So the lesson that I have prepared in advance is all about organizational culture and the different kind of like signs, symbols, and different kind of rituals that organizations enact in order to make up a culture. We're all, again, it's one of those things we're intuitively aware of. We're all aware of identifying with a particular culture in our individual lives and what makes up a feeling of belongingness to that culture. And every organization has its own culture, and good ones, really good organizations, go a long way towards fostering a strong culture where employees can really identify with the organization. Therefore, again, there's that idea that they're working not only for the organization but also working for themselves. Because of the strong culture, the employee identifies so strongly with the organization. Even think about, and I talk about this in the lesson, in terms of identifying with an organizational culture, how you identify with Penn State. We all adopt the colors. I'm sure almost all of us have a Penn State sweatshirt, Penn State sweatpants, t-shirts, bumper stickers. There's a true culture to the organization, and most times happy employees and fulfilled employees identify to a certain extent with that culture. Also goes to the idea of choosing a job or choosing an organization that fits with your own beliefs. It's easier for you to work someplace if your own beliefs shadow the beliefs of the organization. So just some ideas to think about as you're going through that lesson. Corresponding with the lesson on cultures is a case study about an organization called Winning Ways. It's a sports apparel organization, and the case study kind of chronicles what happens when the organization, which went from having like a small, tight-knit culture where individuals were really valued a lot and felt like they strongly identified with the organization, and then as the company grew, the culture shifted and how this impacted the satisfaction of the employees who are part of the organization. Again, just to interject here, this also goes towards reconciling the needs of the individual with reconciling the needs of the organization, because again, if we as individuals feel like we're working for an organization we identify with, our needs are simultaneously being met when we meet the organization's needs. So again, these are all issues to think about as you go through the lesson, and then also apply what you learned in the lesson and the reading to the case study. I do want to give you the heads up front that the case study is, I don't think it's too long. It's probably between 10 and 15 pages to read, and then the questions are just a little bit lengthier and more in-depth than some of the other exercises that you've done in the past. So do allow yourself ample time for completing that assignment. There are 2 participation items, just like every week. The first is your last interactive lesson. So again, as always, that'll be due Wednesday by midnight, and I will turn it around and have a fully formed lesson to you by Thursday. I've really enjoyed the interactive lessons. I'd be interested in hearing your feedback on them. I don't have any mechanism in place for making sure that you go back and check those lessons after I post them, other of course than checking the activity logs. But my hope is that you are, because you want to see how your work fit in with the viewpoint of everybody else who's in the class, as well as my commentary. And also, as you get closer to the final paper, these interactive lessons that I've put up there for you will take kind of increased importance as you begin to sift through all the information to create your final paper. So if you haven't been viewing those interactive lessons, I really recommend you going back and doing so and relying on them as you move forward with your final paper. Speaking of your final paper, nobody's really submitted a draft yet, which I didn't expect, but I just want to remind you that the opportunity to submit a partial, full draft, a partial or a full draft, or an outline is still there. Sooner is better than later. If you do it late next week, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to get you really detailed feedback, but if you do it sometime this week or possibly early next week, I will get you some pretty decently detailed feedback about the direction of your final paper. I think that's about it. The last participation item for this week is the conventional discussion about diversity statements. So this will go hand in hand with your reading and then also the interactive lesson that you and I are both preparing. So it asks you to go to websites and see what kind of diversity statements organizations are putting up, see if there's like a common verbiage, if diversity statements are pretty cohesive, or if there's a lot of variety among them. It should be a good learning experience for you and something that you could take from the real world and apply it to what we're learning in class. So that is it for now. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me and let me know. Have a great week.